Brother John.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, man.
Here I am not in Hawaii, not in Los Angeles. But I am in the Caribbean,
Oh,
which
nice.
is
Nice.
similar to Hawaii without the pina colada.
You're a good man. I love it. First, a big aloha and mahalo. We are welcoming back Moody Blues bassist, singer, songwriter John Lodge. He's been our guest a couple times before, and he's been on the Off the Road series too. He's got a new release, The Royal Affair and After, recorded live in 2019 Royal Affair Tour. Special appearance by Moody Blues partner Graham Edge, appearance by John Davidson of Yes, and we are thrilled to have him back on the show with us. John, aloha, man. Thanks for doing this.
Hello, Dave. Thank you very much, and hello to Hawaii. I love Hawaii.
And you are joining us from where at the moment?
I am in the Caribbean, in Barbados.
Wow, nice. And how long have you been there? What brought you there?
Well, I have a home here for the winter, because the winters in England are pretty pretty tragic, really.
Yeah.
But
it's a good way to describe it.
Also, it's close to America,
right?
And I've been rehearsing in Florida for my upcoming tour, and I'm just having a couple of weeks rest, really.
And you're just down the road, as it were, from Florida.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, before we hear about this incredible release, and obviously there's a tour, you were last on with us in the fall of 2020, at that time in Florida, in fact, sort of trapped there by the pandemic, as listeners may or may not remember. Since then, tell us the story, if you can, kind of like walk us through what you've been up to from that point in the fall of 2020 to now.
Okay, what happened in 2020, I finished a tour of the USA, March the 9th, and I flew down to Naples in Florida because my son and his wife and my grandson lived there, and my wife was there, and we're going down to celebrate my grandson's 11th birthday. And I got down on the 9th, and on the 12th, it was totally closed down, and I didn't see my family for 3 months.
Wow.
So that was the first part. And I've got a small condo there because of my family living there, and all I had was 2 guitars. And I thought, what am I going to do for the next, however long this pandemic is going to last? So Amazon, Sweetwater Music. I built a little studio at home, and I learned GarageBand on my computer. I had M-Audio microphones and M-Audio keyboards, and I put the microphones in a wardrobe in the bedroom. I started writing songs, and I wrote a song called In These Crazy Times, which I recorded everything, the guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, all on GarageBand.
And your son helped out on that too, right?
Yeah, I said to my wife, you've got to sing backing vocals for me. And she's never sung anything before. And I put it in the wardrobe, closed the door, and she sang the backing vocals, and I was really pleased. And then I sent the files to my son, who he's a Dave Gilmour fan, really guitar playing. And I said, come on, put some guitar on this for me, which he did, and he blew me away. And then I sent the files to John Davison in England and said, John, put some vocals on this, harmonies. And it came back to me, and I mixed it with my engineer, and I sent it to my daughter, Emily, who manages me, actually. I said, what do you think? She said, we've got to release it. It's a record. And we did. We released it, and in the UK, it got to number 3 on the Heritage chart.
Amazing.
Which knocked me out, you know. And to be honest, I carried on writing, recording, and I recorded another song in the same pattern, really, but with Alan Hewitt and the guys in my 10,000 Light Beard band contributing with their own studios, a song called The Sun Will Shine, and we had success with that. And but while I was there, I remembered I'd recorded the live show in Las Vegas.
Right.
So I listened to all the files and I said, you know, we're not going to get on the road at least for another year. And nobody's going to go to live concerts. I thought, what better to do mix a live album and keeping the Moody Blues music alive, as it's the soundtrack of my life, and releasing on 180-gram vinyl and CD, of course. And that's what I said about doing. I thought, well, if I can't play a live concert and people can't go, at least they can sit at home or wherever with friends or on their own and listen to a live concert and hopefully have a live concert experience.
What's great about it too is not only you bring all the songs up to a more contemporary recording, but you also, this is a ton of Moody Blues classics on this thing. And these are the songs that people grew up with. And so you're performing them in this way. And we're going to hear about the songs in just a moment. But take us back to the beginning, John, before we get into some of these amazing songs that you've put on this thing. And tell the story of how you, before you met the guys, tell us how music first entered your life as a kid, and when you look back, how you see how it affected and charted this course you've been on.
I I was 13. I was never into music that much, to be honest. But my parents weren't musical, and there was no musical influence in my family. And I was struck by rock and roll. I saw when I was like 12, Rock Around the Clock, the movie, and I thought, it's really exciting, really exciting. And the school I went to at the lunchtime, I used to go to the cafe and they had a jukebox there. And the jukebox, Rock All the Jukebox for aficionados. And I used to drop the money in the slot, my lunch money, with it going in the slot. And I'd listen to all these rock and roll records. And I got really excited. And people like Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard, Fats Domino, Gene Vincent, Eddie Crocker, really iconic American rock and roll people. And at the same time, a neighbor of mine, her son was in the armed forces of Germany, and he came back with a guitar, and he didn't play it. And he said to my mother, would you like to buy it for me? And it was like $5.
Wow.
Guitar. But it was still strong. It was a Kister guitar, but with steel strings. And I did it. My mother or father bought it for me. And I spent the next, how long, I don't know, every day in my bedroom trying to find out how this thing worked. And then Buddy Holly turned up with That Will Be the Day. And that blew me away, the song. And I became a total Buddy Holly freak, and
wow.
I started to try and learn all the Buddy Holly songs. In actual fact, I saw Buddy Holly live when I was about 13.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on here now. Now tell us about that. Paint that whole story. You saw Buddy Holly live?
Yeah, I did. I was really fortunate. My sister, who is older than me, had a boyfriend, and I think the boyfriend was trying to impress my sister, and he knew I had every Buddy Holly record, and Buddy Holly was coming to Birmingham to the town hall, so he bought me front row seats on the Circle, and
wow.
So I've still got the program from that concert, and he blew me away because there was a guy with glasses, a black suit, white shirt, black bow tie, singing this different rock and roll. And I thought, yep, that's it. I'm on the way. I want to do that. I really knew what I wanted to do at that time.
I've never talked to anyone who has told me in my entire 30 years of doing this, 32 years, I've never, ever once heard about seeing that dude in concert. So was it one of those package bills with a few different guys, or was it just, and I know it was a long time ago, but whatever you can remember about it, I think listeners would find fascinating, because you talk about a piece of history, and obviously he's moving to you, but it is something that few people get to hear about. So you really have a kind of something special here.
Yeah, it was, the compere was a guy called Des O'Connor, who was a straight singer comedian. There was another guy who was just a singer singing standards, and there was a sort of a band playing. So it wasn't a rock and roll circus. It was just Buddy Holly was an entertainer on this package.
Wow.
And it was amazing. It really was amazing. To see these three guys on stage, one amplifier, a drummer, and a double bass. And it was amazing. And to cut a long story short, when I got into the when we were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, somebody said, "What did you really mean?" I said, "You wouldn't know what it means for me. I'm a kid from Birmingham, England, working class, council house, no money, self-taught musician, and I'm standing next to Buddy Holly in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How cool can that be?"
So, man, it's electrifying. What an incredible story. What an incredible part of your own life. And to come full circle like that, and just to be able to honor the legacy of one of rock and roll's most important early pioneers. And when he played that, That'll Be the Day, you must have just lit up like a little kid. I can't imagine how excited you were.
I could, everything up until then was like a 12-bar. Songs were based on a 12-bar blues. You started in a major key and just worked around it. But that one didn't. It changed all the rules. And the guitar playing, I think it was all double-tracked. Nobody had ever heard of that in England.
Right.
And the harmonies, everything about it, just, I thought, that's exactly what I want to do.
And were you already at the bass yet, John, or how did you gravitate to the bass? Because you were at the guitar when we last.
Well, this all happened at the same time. I was learning all the chords from Buddy Holly's songs, but going back to the cafe where I used to go, I thought, what's really turning me on here, And I realized coming out of this 12-inch speaker on the jukebox was the left-hand side of the piano, all the boogie stuff.
Right.
And I thought, that's what's driving these songs. It's not the lead guitar or the rhythm or everything. What's driving? It's that's boogie stuff on the. So I started to learn all these boogie parts on a guitar. There was no electric basses in England at that time, not at all.
Wow.
And I started learning. And so when we started our first band, and I was with Ray Thomas, the flautist in the Moody Blues,
Yeah.
I was just playing the bottom four strings on a regular guitar. And cut to the long story short, I saw the Treniers live. And there was a guy in that band playing what I thought it was a white Stratocaster. But I realized that it was only four strings. And that's when I realized what an electric bass was. And I went to my music store one Saturday morning, as all budding musicians did, hang around with everybody else, trying to show people you'd learn more chords than them. But I went one Sunday morning in the window, it said, "Direct from America, Fender Precision Sunburst bass."
Wow.
And that blew me away. I remember going straight home to my father and said, "Dad, you've got to help me out. I'll pay you back one day." And we went back up into Birmingham in the centre, and my father signed the forms, and I got the precision bass, and that precision bass has recorded nearly every Moody Blues song I've ever recorded, and is recorded almost all of my solo albums as well.
And the legacy of these songs that John is talking about. Again, it's the great John Lodge, legendary bassist, singer, songwriter, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member from the Moody Blues. Some of the tunes that he plays on this thing, The Royal Affair and After, and it's this brand new release recorded in 2019 on the Royal Affair tour. Let's get some of the stories behind these tracks here. Now, Nights in White Satin, that's one of the biggest. When I was a kid, man, did that thing dominate the radio. And that was an interesting track too, because even in a world of rock, that song was constantly played, and it had that much different kind of quieter sound than other tunes that you would do, and certainly other tunes on the radio. Take us back to the very beginning when you remember that emerging, and any story that goes along with that people would really connect to.
Yeah, I think Justin wrote this song. We were all living in an apartment building, really old apartment building, in the centre of London, opposite the Russian embassy, actually.
Wow.
And Kensington Palace. It was a great address, but we all had only one room each, to be honest. Justin played the song, and we sat round and we all learned what we wanted to do with the song. And I knew my bass part, and Ray knew his flute part, and Pinder knew his keyboard part, and Graham Edge knew the drum part, and Justin, of course, knew the acoustic guitar part. And we knew all the harmonies, and we rehearsed it all up. And, when you're a participant, you don't hear the whole song. And you thought, well, I wonder what it really sounds like.
Wow.
And we went to the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, had a needle ban, and they couldn't play that many records a day. And if you wanted to list of music, you had to go in one of their studios and record. So we went into the studio and recorded Nights in White Satin on a 2-track machine.
Wow.
And we went into the control room afterwards to see if it was any good. And we were blown away, because I'd never heard it as a complete song.
Right.
None of us had. We all only heard our own parts. And it was 4.5 minutes long. And they thought, well, nobody's ever going to play this. But we thought it's certainly different to anything
Right.
we'd heard before. And it proved to be that way. It's totally different to anything that was ever released.
And it was so, and it's this enduring. That's the thing about all the songs that we're going to talk about are enduring, but that is this song that was pioneering for a lot of the reasons that you've said. And that's what I was saying, like on the radio format, you just couldn't believe that when that came on, it didn't sound like anything else, and yet it just fit perfectly and continued. And then you have songs like we Ride My Seesaw. Now, what is that about anyway? And again, take us the same way you so eloquently did. Walk us through the original story of its origin and anything fun about how you guys did that.
Yeah, it was basically the same. We sat down, I'd written a song on an acoustic guitar, actually, called Harmony Sovereign. And I'd written the song on that. And the song is about growing up, to be honest, you leaving school, going out in the real world. When you're a teenager and later on in life, you're always looking for the excitement and the highs in life. But you come to realize that with the highs, there comes the lows as well. And it was really talking about balancing these two things up.
Wow.
And keeping your glass half full, not half empty. If the glass is half full, you're always got energy, excitement, and looking for things that are going to happen in your life. If the glass is half full, you're always thinking of the depressing things inside of your life. And it was really to be that. And I think that's why in the middle I've got all those harmonies going, so the audience could join in and sort of have a euphoric R together, you know. And that's what that song's about.
Man, I mean, honestly, and you know, no bullshit. When I think about that, I have never. I mean, that just reframes the song into such a more meaningful place in terms of a way of living, basically, is what you're saying, and a way of seeing the world that ultimately will help you to maintain more of a positive attitude during difficult times that are inevitable to happen.
Particularly in these times that we're all living in the last 2 years, you know. So
Yeah.
I think so.
That's incredible. And there people can hear it on the Royal Affair and After. That's what's cool when you do something like that. You bring it up to speed, a 2019 recording, no less, of it. And another one that's on there that I'm sure, and we've heard about it before, but it's a great one that's part of your legacy and that you're attached to forever in people's minds around the world. Helped you get that house in Barbados, no question about it. I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. Do the same for us, Brother John. Take us back and tell the stories.
Yeah, and it was a strange time, you know. The Moody's, we were traveling all around the world, and he was in the Vietnam era. English people weren't getting called up to fight, but Americans were. And of a night time, midnight, we'd get on planes sometimes, having finished a concert, and we'd be on the plane with 18, 19-year-old kids who would just been furloughed back from Vietnam. And it was a strange thing to think that these guys, younger than us really, had been fighting away. And we've been doing a rock and roll concert. It was really bizarre. And I remember coming up from one tour one day, and there's all these people in the front yard of my home. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "Well, we're here because you're gonna fly the spacecraft that's gonna rescue everyone." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I actually don't like flying." They couldn't believe I said that, but I said, "You know, I don't know anything more about this world than you do. We read all the same things, and I'm really just a singer in a rock and roll band. Don't think I know anything more than you, because I really don't. The only advantage I suppose we had was traveling, meeting so many people, and that words." Meeting so many people across the world. That's what one of the song is about, really. And yeah.
It's incredible, man. All these tunes, and you really can describe them well in some of those ways that people who, and these are the kinds of things, our listeners especially, public radio, I don't have to tell you the age group of folks who are tuned into this and when these songs were really, really dominant. And of course, most of them have survived because of the way classic rock and classic hits is such a important ingredient in your success. Thinking about your life going forward as we wrap it up, have you played any live shows since the pandemic, or will these shows in 2022 be the first since this mess began?
They're going to be the first shows. 3 weeks ago, I booked a rehearsal room in Naples and got my band together, because two of the guys actually live in Florida, and my sound engineer lives in Florida. I booked a rehearsal room with the stage, a real PA, and real lights, and we performed the show for the first time, and it was fantastic to start that engine up again,
Right
and start singing and start playing, and also the camaraderie with the band.
Sure.
I've got a beautiful set of musicians who love the music and they're committed to it, and it was really fantastic to be with them, because not only not playing, it's not seeing these people and to be able to touch them and feel them, the closeness of people you work with for a few years. It was really strange, but we had a great time. So
that's touching.
I'm looking forward to that. I haven't done any live concerts at all.
You haven't been to anything, right? You haven't been to any special precautions or anything? I mean, you're vaxxed, I'm assuming, and boosted, and the whole schmear.
Well, I'm all vaccinated up, certificated up, and everything else. My daughter Emily, she manages me, and
Yep.
she takes care of all the precautions we've got to do, because a lot of artists and bands have fallen foul with COVID
big
and all
time.
that, and so we doing the best we can. We just got to find a way through all this. Anyway, I want to make myself come to Hawaii. I miss Hawaii.
You got to try. Tell Emily to. Why don't you write this one down so you don't forget it?
Yeah.
Tell Emily to contact, and I'll reach out to them on my end too, because I know them real well. They were just listening to the show the other day. The Blue Note Hawaii. Blue Note Hawaii, the famous Blue Note clubs. They got them all over the world.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they have one in Barbados. I don't know if they even have one in England, actually. But they've got them on. They got one. They have one here, and that's what matters. So anyway, look up, tell your person, ask your person, your agent or whomever, to contact that and see if the offer works for you. And we haven't had a lot of. Getting back to what you were saying, I haven't. The last time I saw something, dude, was March 7th of 2020. Carol Burnett came. The thing had just about arrived. It hadn't come yet. I was a little nervous, and I said to myself, I just interviewed her on the phone, and I didn't want to miss the chance of seeing her, and she had said on the phone, I really like talking to you. How about you come back and I'll say hi to you or whatever. I get to meet her. And so I went. I was a little scared, and masks hadn't arrived yet. It was about a week before everything really hit the fan. And I remember meeting her and saying, "Is it all right to touch you?" or something like that, because it was kind of weird. We shook hands, took a picture. But when you talk about that, it's been a long haul. And the Blue Note has had only a handful, maybe one hand of guests that weren't, or acts that were not local. So my point is that we haven't really opened up here fully, but it's something to check out. And they're booking bands. They just have, like a lot of bands, as you know, they book them and then they reschedule them. They book them, they reschedule them, and they just keep postponing them.
I've been doing the 50th anniversary of the Isle of Wight for 3 years now. It keeps me being rescheduled, so that's it. Just tell me that you might. I got wonderful Hawaiian stories. I have to tell you.
Please go for it.
The very first time we arrived on tour, we came from Alaska. We did a couple of concerts in Alaska. Now we'd left England. It was temperate in January.
Ooh.
Got to Alaska, is like minus 40. And we all went out and bought fur coats. And then we flew to Hawaii with fur coats. And I remember the maid walking into my hotel room, opening up the wardrobe and just broke down with laughter because there was this great big fur coat in the wardrobe. She couldn't believe I took fur coats. And then morning, I went up to the swimming pool. We were the Kalia Bay, Kahala Hilton.
Yep.
Kahala Hilton with the port dolphins swimming around and all that.
Right.
And I went up the swimming pool, and the first person I saw standing there was Jack Lord.
Right.
Jack Lord, Y50. And I have to go up. I said, Jack, you don't know me. I'm John Lodge of Moody Blues, and the Y50 is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen because it's about Hawaii, and I love the stories. Book them down. It's great. And suddenly he flips his fingers, and there's a photographer turned up. We had a photo session there and then with Jack Lord. It was great. I have to say, it was a big smile on my face.
You know, brother, that story is a great one to wrap it up with, and you probably put a lot of smiles on people's faces with all the great stories, and to end it with a Hawaii one is fantastic. And all we've heard about the royal affair and after this new release, filled with these classic Moody Blues songs, which have been part of people's lives. They've got memories attached to for decades and decades, and we're going to try and get Brother John and the band to play out in the islands. Maybe they can play the Blue Note Hawaii, and we'll see if... well, fingers crossed on your tour, too, if anything can work out, because as you said, bands make the best attempts, and then who knows what happens once you hit the road. So I'm hoping it works out good for you, and I'm really hoping that you had a lot of fun being back on the Off the Road series with us, brother.
I have great questions, and it's great to talk to you, Dave, and everybody in Hawaii. Thank you for keeping the faith. It's really, heartfelt. Thank you.
You're so welcome, my brother.
Okay, cheers, Dave. Aloha, mates. It's John Lodge of the Moody Blues. I'm back, and I'm on a mission this time. I was a guest right here on an HBR and the Off the Road series. And it was a blast, a true blast, hanging out again with my buddy, Dave Lawrence. But folks, here is the deal. We really do rely on members to support this non-profit radio station. Are you a member? No? Really? Come on, let's change that right now. Here's how, and a big welcome aboard, and a big mahalo.
You're the man, John. Giving you a huge hug, a high five. Must be so nice there in Barbados. How long have you had a place down there?
20 odd years, I think. I think I came from Hawaii, and I thought Hawaii is far too far from England. Where's the next best place? The Caribbean.
You're living such a good life. High fives, hugs, and really, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your camaraderie and your kindness and so many insights into the music and life, and just really do appreciate it, my brother.
Thank you, Dave, and take care and stay safe.
You too, my brother. We'll talk soon. Thank you. Aloha.
Bye.
Bye.
Aloha.